Hello, everyone. One of my viewers asked me an excellent question in the last Glock video that I did, which I talked about how Glock has suicided itself, okay, by making an agreement with anti-gunners to discontinue their most popular models. Okay, so initially I thought that they were just going to discontinue the Gen 3 pistols because it kind of made sense because the patents had expired. Everybody was kind of copying them. They probably weren't as profitable for Glock. So I thought, hey, they were just kind of throwing them a bone. But it turns out that they're also discontinuing the Gen 4 and the Gen 5, okay, which is completely idiotic, suicidal for the company because they have nothing to sell, okay. Supposedly they're coming out with, or they've released a new model, and I don't know if it's version V or if it's version Roman numeral number 5. I don't know, and the reason why I don't know is because I really didn't care that much to look into it, okay, because I have no intention of buying it. The assumption is that they have modified this new version so that you can't just remove the back plate and insert a full auto switch. Okay, so in order for that to happen, there would have to be a significant modification to the gun, so you can't easily do that. Now, keeping in mind that you could pretty much take any gun and come up with some type of a mechanism so that when the slide goes forward, okay, it releases the sear and the gun shoots automatically. So you can do that with any, with any semi-automatic, striker-fired pistol, or even with a, with any semi-automatic rifle that has a bolt that slides forward. With enough thought and engineering, you can come up with something. Okay, so and I am sure that somebody is going to come up with it just for the sake of sticking it to Glock, and I really hope they do so, because I'd love to see Glock go back to the drawing board again, because they basically bent the knee to the anti-gunners. They need to suffer for this. I actually, I know there's a lot of dislike out there for SIG, okay, but now I actually dislike Glock a lot more. Okay, so anyway, the question that was asked in the comment section is, what do I recommend? Okay, what is a good Glock alternative? Okay, which kind of puts me in a bad position, because I've been a full-time gun instructor for the last 15 years. And I've tried Berettas. I've tried, I've tried using some SIGs. I've tried using, I had a Taurus at some point. I had a couple of different guns that I have experimented with as training guns. And I basically went with the Glock because the Glock is the most durable, okay? And I do extremely high round counts because basically I lend my guns out so people can train on them, so they can try them out and decide, hey, if this is a good gun for them. And in order for me to do that, in order for me to train people on guns, I need to use guns that can do very high round counts and don't break on me, okay? So the Glock, like this one over here, right, it went 75,000 rounds without anything breaking on its original recoil spring, okay? And I know Glock recommends that you change it every 10,000 rounds. I didn't do it, okay? I just went straight through the 75,000 rounds. The thing that broke at 75,000 rounds was the trigger spring in the back. And then I think in the process of changing that out, the spring on the slide catch also broke on me as I was trying to remove it. So I think that was just water got in there. I think it rusted. And from that point, it went up to basically 95,000 rounds before that trigger spring broke again. So it's kind of weird how that works, because the first one went 75,000 rounds, right? And then the one after that only went, another 20,000 rounds. So I think there was a bit of luck in that. But the point is that this is obviously a very durable gun, okay? So the reason why I stopped using this one over here at the 75 at the 95,000 rounds, and I the reason I keep track of those rounds, the round count is with this one over here. Like when I was training people, I was only using this one gun, okay, as a pistol training gun. I mean, occasionally I would use a Beretta, but this was the main one I was using, and I buy the ammunition in 1,000 round boxes, okay, and especially when I'm busy, I'll buy like 4,000 rounds at a time, okay. So it's really easy for me to keep track of how many thousands of rounds I go through if I'm only basically using one pistol, and at the time I was using one rifle. Now, what happened was at 95,000 rounds, this was during 2020, and I got like really busy. I basically said, hey, let me. I think first of all, I quickly concluded that it would really help, and I had the intention of switching over to something that would take a pistol optic. My intention was to buy the Palmetto Dagger, which was supposed to be released that year and which would accept an optic. That got delayed by almost 2 years. So my next option was to build a Glock Gen 3, which was the Palmer 80s. Okay, and I built a few of them. They became really reliable, really good. It was a learning curve. Like the first one, it took almost 2 months before I completely debugged it, right? But once I debugged it, figured out how to build these things, these Glock Gen 3s became extremely reliable. So one of the things I found out is that the optic made a really big difference for training new shooters, especially women that didn't relate so well to the whole lining up iron sights thing. I mean, not that they shouldn't learn to do that, but that's just not a good starting point, okay? When I put people on guns with optics and they see a red dot, as soon as they get on it, they're like, ooh, I see it. So that's something that they like. They like training, they get better, and basically it's a good way for me to recruit them, especially women, young shooters. It's a good way for me to recruit them into the gun culture, okay? So I had already concluded that I needed guns with optics. So since I couldn't get the Palmetto Dagger, I started cranking out these Palmer 80s, okay? So I built a lot of them, and because I built a lot of them, I was able to kind of spread out the workload. So like this one's got like 10,000 rounds on it. This one's got 10,000 rounds on it. I've got another one somewhere that also has about 10,000 rounds on it. Obviously, I got less busy after 2020, so I haven't been building up those round counts at those extreme rates that I did back then. But the issue here is that Palmer 80 kind of was run out of business by the government, so you can't get a Palmer 80. Now I think that they do sell some other company out there. I don't know which one that kind of sells something. But the point is that I can't tell somebody that's like just coming into the gun culture to go build a gun on their own. They don't have the experience. For one thing, like I had a functioning Glock here, so I knew what I was trying to go to. I could basically take this apart, look at it. I could feel the slide. So I can't tell somebody that has very little shooting experience, that has not built any guns. I can't tell them to build their own Glock because, like I said, it took me about 2 months before I kind of like worked out all the bugs, and I got a gun that was really reliable. Okay, so that's not an option. Okay? So what's the alternative, right? What can I recommend to you guys to buy instead of a Glock? Okay, I think a couple of years back I might have told you guys to go with a SIG 320, only because the military had adopted it, and for the same reason I kind of got into Glocks early on, where I was like, hey, if it's reliable for military and police, it's probably going to be reliable for me. So that's one of the things that pushed me in this direction before I built up my own experience with the gun. So I would have said SIG 320. However, there's a lot of stuff in the news over the last year or two, or a couple of years, where there's issues with the SIG 320, and I'm not 100% sure that they are not user error related. Okay, I mean, I'm not 100% sure. Maybe there might be some cases where it is user error, other cases where it's not. The problem is that there's been enough stuff in the news with the SIG 320 that I can't really recommend it. Okay, especially to a paying customer. I can't do that. Okay, so what am I? So I can't tell them to build their own guns, right? I can't tell them to go get a SIG 320. So what am I left with? I mean, I'd like to tell them to go get a Palmetto dagger. However, I have heard of reports with reliability, consistency of the manufacturing. Like I just, I mean, I actually have a dagger slide. I don't have a dagger frame, so I personally don't have I don't have any experience really with the dagger. So I can't recommend the dagger. I'd like to. I hope that I hope that the dagger turns out to be a really great gun. Okay, Palmetto dagger. But at this point, I cannot recommend that. So what am I left with? Okay. So one of the guns that I was carrying before I built this G43 that has been my everyday carry since 2020. Actually, late 2020. Before that, I was carrying this Shield 9. Okay, Smith & Wesson M&P Shield 9. Okay, and I keep it loaded around the chamber, holstered, as a ready, go-to gun. Okay, besides like, because most of like these guns I keep unloaded in the safe. Okay, this one I keep loaded in the holster, ready to go. So that's one of the things. Like if I have a gun in a holster in the safe, I know that gun, is loaded with a round in the chamber. Okay, so that's that's one of the ways that I distinguish them. So the Shield 9 is one of my go-to guns that I actually carried for several months. I don't remember how many months. Did a whole bunch of practicing with it. I think the main reason why I don't really carry this is because it's really not optic ready. You can slide this out and slide a plate in, but that's really not as good. But with all the practicing that I did with the Shield 9, it turned out to be a very reliable gun, very robust design, right? Strong, tough gun. Now I have done a few hundred rounds with it. I haven't done thousands and thousands of rounds. However, James Yeager, the late great James Yeager, did use this gun, and he did a video on this. He did use this gun as he did have a Shield 9 available as a training gun for people to borrow in his classes. And he said he had close to like 15,000 rounds on it, and I mean, I would, that makes sense. I mean, that's what I would expect, which is not to say can't do more rounds than that. But yeah, the Shield 9 is the gun that I would recommend based on the somewhat, I say limited experience. But when I say limited experience, I'm talking to you as somebody that shoots almost every day. So, like on this gun over here, I'm probably up to several thousand rounds at this point. So I've got a couple of hundred rounds on this. Maybe, I don't know, 400, 500 rounds on this that I had done on this. That's probably more rounds than most people out there would do. So what is very low use for me is high use for lots of other people out there. So this gun performed very good, the Shield 9. Now, when I bought it, the great thing about it, when I bought it, the Shield 9 was like $300. I got this for $300. An excellent gun. Yeager said that this gun was built to professional standards. And yeah, my experience with this gun, I'll say the same thing. So for $300, this was a bargain. So I did look up the price of this yesterday. It seems like it's going for about $400. So I think I bought it maybe in 2016, 2017, somewhere back there. So me paying $300 back then versus it being about $400 now. Now this is the version is one of the earlier versions. So it comes with 2 magazines, a 7-round magazine and an 8-round magazine. Um, uh, Again, so now I think it's as far as I can tell, it's about $400 now. They do have other versions of this. I think they have another version now. I think they call it a Plus. I think it has a 10-round magazine. Some of the other versions are closer to $500. I assume that they haven't changed the internals that much. So I don't know. I haven't had experience with the Plus version. I have had some experience with the Easy version. This Easy version, complete garbage, right? Do not get the Shield 9 Easy, okay? The Easy has a back strap here and a thumb safety, and what happens is these two safeties conflict with each other, because if you have a thumb safety, you're supposed to shoot it with your thumb riding on top of the thumb safety so that you know it's deactivated. Well, what that does is it takes the pressure off of the back plate here, the back strap safety, takes the pressure off of that. So a lot of times you go to pull the trigger and there's not enough pressure on that back strap to deactivate the safety, and the gun doesn't shoot. I've seen that a bunch of times with myself shooting it, with lots of people, you know, that own the gun shooting it. The Easy is steaming pile of shit. Do not get that. It has an easier magazine to load. The magazine's a little bit easier to load. Garbage. Do not get the Easy version. The other versions I think are going to be okay. Like I said, I haven't tried the Plus version. I just have the original one. The original one did come with it did come with the option to get it with a thumb safety or without a thumb safety. I got it without the thumb safety, and the reason is because I had so much experience with the Glocks. I knew that the Glocks were they only partially cocked. I knew that they had a whole bunch of safeties built into the gun. At the time, I assumed that all strike-fired guns kind of work the same way. So that was an error. Okay. So as far as I can tell, the Shield 9 does fully cock when you rack the slide. I don't love that. I prefer the partially cocked feature of the Glock. But yeah, I've had enough experience with the gun. I think that it's going to be fine. Not heard of accidental discharges or uncommanded discharges. Yeah, if it's gonna be fully cocked, you might want to get that thumb safety. The problem with the thumb safeties is they're very thin and small. It's not like a 1911 thumb safety. Your thumb can very easily slide off of it. So it's one of those things with the thumb safety is like, and here's the thing, like I've seen lots of people train, even people with experience, and if you put people under stress, they're gonna, a lot of times they forget to take the thumb safety off, or they forget to put the thumb safety on when they reholster the gun. So I mean, I think that the whole thumb safety idea is not a great concept in itself, which is one of the reasons why I really like Glocks, Glock style guns, and the reason why I'm going to keep carrying my Palmer 80 G43 that I built. But again, I can't recommend that to you guys. Okay. By the way, I mentioned earlier with the Shield 9 EZ that it had a conflict between the thumb safety and the back strap, so that when you rode your thumb over the thumb safety, it didn't apply enough pressure to the back strap. And you might say, hey, that's not an issue with a 1911, right? And I've got like 2 1911s. No, it's not. I mean, the 1911, it just either the maybe because the gun is larger, maybe because the backstrap safety is more sensitive. I don't know. I've never had a problem with the 1911 riding my thumb on top of the safety. You know, it always deactivates the backstrap safety. With the Shield EZ, that's not the case. I mean, it's just not reliable. You ride your thumb on top of the safety, you may not deactivate the backstrap safety. If you don't ride your thumb on top of the safety, you're not going to be 100% sure that the thumb safety is off. Okay, so it might be on and you can't tell because your thumb's not riding on top of it. So that's the issue with backstrap safeties and thumb safeties. With thumb safety, you're kind of committed you're shooting the gun with the thumb riding on top of that safety, so that you can be sure it's off. Okay, so yeah, that's what I think I would recommend. The Shield 9. How about the larger M&P 2.0? I haven't. I think I might have shot it, but I can barely remember it. I have friends that swear by it, so I can't say. I mean, I haven't heard any complaints about it. So that might be something to look into. The M&P 2.0 if you want a larger frame gun. You know, a lot of people. I can't say anything because I haven't shot it enough to even remember it. Okay, but I have heard good things about the M&P Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0. The other thing to consider, I almost feel a little embarrassed bringing it up, is the SIG P365. Okay, not the 320, the 365. I have a bunch of customers that have the gun that use it, have not had any problems with it. It does use a different, from what I understand, it does use a different internal mechanism than the SIG 320. However, the last time I looked at it and I was examining it as best as I could without disassembling, like completely disassembling the gun, the firing pin block appears to be in the SIG 365 appears to be the same mechanism as the SIG 320, where it's in the back, and the firing pin block is basically part of the firing pin mechanism, which I don't love that design concept. You know, nobody, as far as I know, there haven't been any issues with the SIG 365. However, I don't think that there was that many known issues with the SIG 320 until the military and police started using them on a wide scale. So that's one of the things with a lot of these guns. Like, I can say that, you know, you can say any gun is safe because it's been sold for many years, and there's no problems with it. But until the military gets it, uses it, abuses it, neglects it, does all the bad stuff that the military does to their equipment, until it gets to that level, you really can't be sure of what you got. Okay, so everybody thought that the SIG 320 was a safe gun or a non-problematic gun. Okay, and again, I'm not saying that the SIG 320 is not a safe gun, because I think in a lot of cases there might be some user error problems. But those issues didn't come up until the military adopted the gun and started using it. Okay, so that's one of the things to be aware with these guns. So, yeah, I mean, the SIG 365. My experience with that gun, or my experience training people who have that gun, because I don't own it, has been really good. Okay, the gun works very well. People like it, swear by it. So I'm just putting that out there for you guys. Myself personally, if I, for whatever reason, was not carrying my G43, I would probably go back to my Shield 9 and maybe get an optic ready version. It still seems like these guns are cheap enough, like around $400. And I'm a big, like, the one thing I like about the G43 that it is smaller than the Shield 9. It's a tiny bit smaller, not a whole lot smaller, a tiny bit smaller. For everyday carry, I really favor smaller, especially if you're driving and you sit down. I carry in the 5 o'clock position. I want to be able to sit down comfortable in my truck. So I favor a smaller gun rather than the extra 2 rounds. Like when I carry the G43, you'll notice there's a flush magazine here. I don't have, even though I have magazines that have the pinky extension, I don't use them, because that extra ½ inch makes a difference when I sit down in my truck. Okay, it hits the seat behind me. So anyway, my thoughts on that. Some things for you guys to consider as a Glock alternative. Okay, drop some comments. Let me know what you think. Give the video a like. All these things help push the algorithm and help spread the information. I do not monetize this channel. Okay, talk to y'all soon.